So, Pranam Dar, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you've all had a good lunch. For the people who are joining us via Teams, you missed out on a cracker. So really, really sorry about that. As Gary said, I'm Gareth Browning. I head up challenges for the Cardiff Capital Region. Been to a number of conferences recently where people have said what a great title I've got. I think I'm really lucky in terms of the job that I do. Head of challenges is a great title. Don't know if I can compete with Future Gen Commissioner though today. So hopefully, what I'm going to talk today about is a bit about the Cardiff Capital Region. I'm sure many of you will have an idea about it anyway, but a bit about our challenge fund and kind of where we're going next as well. When we talk about challenges, we did a bit of a consultation work last year, and this is a bit like my brain at the moment. We've got so many challenges that we're facing in so many different areas, covering health, economy, climate, infrastructure, and then how do we then operationalise the challenges that we face in terms of resourcing, get the capacity in place. And as the Future Gen Commissioner was talking about earlier, it's that implementation gap. And I think some of what we're doing within the Cardiff Capital Region is trying to fill that implementation gap. Being brutally honest, I think we've got a long way to go. But I am really enthused today to be around a lot of what I would regard like-minded individuals who, inspirational this morning in terms of the work you're doing, I think is absolutely fantastic. So Cardiff Capital Region, just quickly for those that aren't familiar with it, it effectively covers the 10 local authority areas of South East Wales, so from Bridgend over to sort of Newport, Monmouthshire and up to Merthyr, Blaenau Gwent towards the north. We're a city deal programme currently, so we receive funding from UK government and funding from local authorities. We're a £1.2 billion fund. Effectively, we're just a large programme at the moment. There's a big transition that's taking place this year. We're moving from a city deal programme to what's called a corporate joint committee. So we'll be a new legal entity where we'll have additional powers, additional freedoms and flexibilities, and we'll be our own organisation. We're a relatively small organisation in terms of headcount. The targets that we've got in terms of the UK government targets at the top level are about leveraging £4 billion of private sector investment, increasing GVA by 5% and 25,000 new jobs. So fair bit to achieve and something that we can't do as a CCR team alone. This is about us as a collection of local authorities, health boards, working with Welsh Government, working with universities and third sector. So this is very much a collaborative effort, the way we see it as a region. Just to step back. And the way the fund's broken down, I think it's important to differentiate the 734 million that we have for the Metro scheme, and then we've got 495 million that sits within our wider investment fund, where we have a degree of flexibility in terms of how we fund that through different interventions. We've identified priority sectors within the Cardiff Capital Region. So we've got 5 sectors: compound semiconductors, fintech, cyber, creative and medtech. We're slowly building our team. We've recently appointed cluster development managers, so we're strengthening the team in terms of having people who will go out and do the outreach work, working with partners. And our investment portfolio broadly breaks down into the 4 areas of challenge, skills, infrastructure and innovation. As Gary's kind of alluded to earlier, I lead on the challenge fund. That's just to show the sort of spread of how we spread our investments across the region. And we are very mindful of the need to not make everything Cardiff-centric, that we do need to exploit the benefits of having a capital city, but make sure that we reach out to all the communities. So recently, earlier this year, we launched the Regional Economic and Industrial Plan. What I'm going to focus on today is around the CCR missions agenda. So this specifically is how we want to take a missions approach, a challenge-led approach to innovation in the Cardiff Capital Region. And you'll see there net zero is front and centre as a priority. This is about place-based innovation, solving societal challenges, creating new market opportunities for businesses, and building from the CCR Challenge programme that we've been running, that I've been leading on. So in terms of the challenges that we've got set out in the REIP, tackling the economic disparities that exist, enabling innovation, capability and capacity. I think this is a massive thing in terms of actually having the right skills, the right people in the right places to deliver on the ambition We can put all these policies out till the cows come home, but unless we've got people actually doing the work, it doesn't happen. We've got the decarbonisation agenda that we all know about, as well as the infrastructure developments in terms of both the physical and digital infrastructure. I thought I'd put this slide up. I'm not the lead on energy. A colleague of mine, Rob O'Dwyer, is our energy lead and infrastructure lead. But I thought there's some interesting stats in there. I'll leave you to read them. But I think the opportunity is that we can look to create more energy locally. We have a big opportunity in terms of creating wealth, value-added benefits for the region. We just need to be a bit smarter, a bit more ambitious, and a bit more bold, I think. But what I think I'm hearing today is there's a lot of ambition in this room with the people we've got. So let's just keep kicking things forward. So the Challenge Fund I've been leading on, it's an experimental programme that we kicked off around 2.5 years ago. It's a £10 million investment by Cardiff Capital Region, working with Cardiff University as our delivery partner. And it's about engaging with local authorities and challenge owners to look at problems and challenges where kind of off-the-shelf solutions don't exist. So we've kind of run this in a reactive way, where we've asked people to bid into the fund, and then we've allocated funding to projects. In hindsight, I think we've done it the wrong way around. I think we need to be taking more of a leadership role, more thought leadership, and actually driving the agenda in terms of where we invest funding going forward. I'll come on to something at the end of the presentation in terms of a call to action to you guys today. Just to give you a flavour of some of the things that we've been funding, we've done some work in health around virtual reality training for clinicians. There's a project looking at endoscopies and trying to reduce the waiting lists, which has highlighted issues around things like single-use endoscopies and the problems there. We funded a number of EV fleet-related challenges, so looking at how we can decarbonise our fleet local authority assets. The picture in the middle there is the Monmouthshire project, where the Meals on Wheels team have been saying that they can buy the electric vans, they can use the vans, but how do they then heat the meals? So they're looking at how they can deploy a hydrogen cell on the vehicles for actually heating the meals up. So, very innovative. Our largest challenge to date has been the food security challenge, food production and supply challenge. This has been led by Cardiff and Monmouthshire Council, with additional co-funding from Welsh Government. We've run the first round of the challenge, and one of the projects that came through there, one of the stronger candidates was Fair Share Cymru, where they're looking to, and I don't know if I should say waste after what Ben was talking about earlier. I think it's raw materials, I think we should refer to it. I think that's what he was saying earlier. So it's how we take the waste food, get it back into into use. So we're funding a project with Fair Share Cymru. Moving on from what we learned from the first round of the challenge, we're launching any day soon now, or Cardiff and Monmouthshire, I should say, are launching a challenge, a first-of-a-kind demonstrator project, looking at food security, food resilience. This hasn't gone live yet, so you're kind of seeing this before the competition goes live. But the 6 areas that have been identified are shown on the screen now. We've arrived at these through the support of the Innovate UK Knowledge Transfer Network, working with the universities, working with stakeholders. But I think this, hopefully, we'll see some really targeted challenge projects coming through this. So there is an opportunity for people in this room to get involved in these projects. I'll let the CEIC team know when it goes live. So, I think this is a good opportunity. We've got about, less, but I don't know, 2.5 million, I think, budget going into the second call. What we hope to see is leveraging further funding, further partner contributions as well. As a city deal, we're all about kind of co-working, shared risk, shared reward, and collaborative partnerships. Just wanted to show a slide on another project we've recently approved. This is with the Welsh Automotive Forum and Newport Bus. The conversation came about from Newport Bus saying they've been buying in these electric buses from China, the Yutong buses. Excellent, experience they're getting with it. But the question came up, well, why are we buying these buses in from China? Why can't we look to produce them in the UK? Can we look to retrofit existing bus stock that we've got? How do we then move to things like school transport, where we know the budgets just don't exist to actually to kit all our schools out with electric buses? So the Welsh Automotive Forum have taken the mantle and are running this initial technical and commercial feasibility work to look at, can we actually create a retrofit industry in South East Wales? The answer might be no. I hope not. But can we actually look at creating an industry where we can take school buses, retrofit them with electric powertrains, possibly hydrogen maybe? So this is an opportunity that we're exploring. And if anyone's interested, give me a shout. Another, I think, really significant thing to mention today is the Aberthaw Power Station. We've been pretty bold as a capital region. We've bought the Aberthaw Power Station. We've got ambitious plans in terms of making this into a site of green energy production. At the moment, there's nothing off the table. We've established CCR Energy Limited as a new entity. They're interested in having conversations with people who've got good ideas for how we use the site. The first stage of it will involve a significant decommissioning process, but there is massive opportunity around the Aberthaw site. So if anyone is interested, give me a shout, and I can link you up with the team who are leading that. And just sort of finally, really, just to come on to, so as I said, we're working with Cardiff University, and through the learning of the Challenge Fund that we've gained, they've kind of come up with this model. I think the important thing that I sort of recognise from the work on the Challenge Fund is that we've got massive gaps in terms of capacity. We've got local government have been eroded in terms of budgets, in terms of staff. So we do genuinely have to try and do more with less. So I think how we use the capability and the skills we've got is essentially is really important. People like you guys who are bought into this, I think, are massively important to the future of innovation in the region. I'm really passionate about challenge-led innovation. I've been a big advocate of it since 2014 in Welsh Government. So I want to look at driving more challenges, more innovation, get more scaling of projects as well. We see too many good ideas that sit on the shelf that don't kick it onto the next level. So I think there's an opportunity where we need to maybe do a little bit less stuff, but do it really bloody well. Less focus on things where we can actually make a massive impact in the region and try not to spread ourselves too thinly. I personally have been really guilty with the Challenge Fund of trying to do too much, and I think we've got to focus in on where we can make the biggest impact. And I was talking to Gary over lunch, and I think what would be really good to use this group of people in the room and the people who are listening on the Teams call today is to what are the 1-2 things that we should be focusing on as a city region around circular economy or other ideas you may have as well. If we take forward a missions approach and we take more of a leadership role in the capital region, what should we focus on? I'm doing a piece of work now over the next 6 weeks where I'm looking to move from a challenge fund reactive model to a more proactive, mission-driven approach where we set out some sort of focused, targeted agenda. Should that be circular economy? Should it be a subset of that? What should it look like? And I think I'd love to get feedback and ideas for where we should be taking mission-driven innovation and challenge-led innovation next. I hope that was useful, not too quickly going through it. Happy to take any questions, any observations, thoughts? Or have I left everyone baffled? Thanks for listening.
Thank you for that presentation, Gary Rawlings, MD. MD for Natem UK Limited. At Aberthaw, the intentions is to bring down the station and redevelop the land. Is it going to be for one specific industries like batteries to be made there, so on and so forth? Can you give us that indication? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So not for one specific use. We've got 2 grid connections on site that exist there already. There's potential for how we might use some of the tidal power, or it could be a combination of solar, wind, hydrogen, small nuclear reactors, modular reactors. The sheet isn't quite blank, but we're open for discussions on multiple use in terms of energy production, storage, co-location. So as I said, we've set up CCR Energy Limited. So we've just deployed a small team that we only completed on the purchase, I think it was about 2 months ago now. So it is very new. So we're going out to tender in terms of the decommissioning process. So that's going to take, we think, around 3 to 5 years. But what we don't want to do is wait 3 to 5 years, scratch our heads and think, right, what are we going to do with it next? So we want to try and start lining up projects and ideas right now. So anyone who's got ideas, drop me a line, or drop the CEIC team a line, and I can make those connections. But it is a genuine consultation in terms of how we use that site.
I thought I'd pick up the ladies asking questions again. So if you had a crystal ball, yes, and you could look into the future, because you've got money, you've got collaboration, you've got the whole public sector at your feet here. What do you think the sea change will be that you will deliver in 5-10 years' time?
I didn't want any hard questions today, and I think that just seems unfair now. I think culturally, I think we're going to see a big change. I think, I've seconded across from Welsh Government, and I've been working in the city region for the last couple of years, and I think, this may be unfair, but generally, I think as public sector, we're really good at doing what we know. We go out, we procure stuff because that's what we kind of do, and we work in a kind of, not quite the bowler hat and black umbrella sort of way, but I think that's that sort of traditional way of working. I think as a city region, and fair play to Kelly Byrne, my director, she's very much instilling this culture of this can-do attitude, that we'll go out, we'll do things, we'll act in more of an entrepreneurial way as public servants. So I think it's that shift away from kind of the traditional local government mindset to a different way of working. I think we're going to take risks. Buying Aberthaw is a risk. There's an airport that's struggling. Maybe that's something we need to target. But I think for us, looking to the future, I think it's how we can adopt a public sector mentality, private sector mentality, to a public sector assets. And then I think, we're not going to change the world, but if we can make Cardiff really successful, really thriving, and all the surrounding areas, I think that's all we can hope for. But I think, I'd love to have a crystal ball. Bold investments, I think I'd like to be remembered for.
From our virtual audience, Andrew?
Thanks, Jill. Just checking that you can hear me okay.
Yep.
Okay. One of the things that I'm sure the CEIC participants would be very keen to know, Gareth, is what you've got in the room there is people that have got the right mindset, they've got the ideas, they've worked them up. So what do you think are the next steps in terms of engaging with your team and with yourself and taking those ideas forward? So I'd be appreciative of any thoughts there. Yeah, no,
I think it's a good question. I think I've already been talking with Gary and the CEIC team about how we can work with the community of practice that's assembled. So I think we've got an opportunity to take some of the great work that's been done. We can embed that into our missions thinking for CCR missions. We can start embedding that into the way our clusters are working. With my colleagues on the skills side of the CCR, then we're looking now at what are the future skills requirements? How can we provide support through that? So I think it's taking the learning from this, making it as visible as possible, and then embedding it into our planning. So the way the city region team works and the mindset that we've got is that things are constantly evolving, constantly changing. We take the learning. So I think it's working with the community of practice, integrating the Challenge Fund community of practice, I would argue, with the CEIC community of practice is really important. But I think, yes, about talking, sharing experiences, sharing learning. I think if we work together and we're smart, I think we can actually access a lot of UK government funding if we're really clever about it. If we're joined up, I think that too often we're tripping over ourselves in South East Wales, but also in Wales more generally. So I think if we work smartly, share what we're doing, and put bids into Innovate UK, into Welsh Government in a coordinated way, and I think we've got an opportunity to do that.
Time for one more question.
Just on the school buses transport element, it was more of a reassurance from me, I suppose, if that's possible, that I think there is 100% a call for that opportunity and the capability within the region to deliver it. The universities and others in the room have contacts in Second Life EV batteries, including EV retrofit. And the fact that I've been speaking to local authorities on their transport budgets, and they're massively stretched and overspending on those budgets. And the reason that the Chinese buses have been so successful is the financing model, not necessarily anything else. It's the fact that they can make it monthly affordable effectively, and that's why those are so popular and they're available. So if we can replicate that and also get it backed by green finance, which is typically the problem, having significant investment to provide a function, and the way that the budgets are structured in public sector means that it's difficult to commit to those long term. So I think that's another barrier to entry for a local provision.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I think the conversation with Newport Bus came about. They were, Scott Pearson, the MD there, was really frustrated. He said, we're spending 440 grand on these buses that are coming in from China. Why can't we produce them in the UK? And we've looked at it, and we talked to some companies as well, and they say, well, you could retrofit a bus and it might cost you 200k, for the first bus. So, okay, you've got an older bus, but the chassis is still good. So the economic argument is kind of there, So it's what we're hoping through this technical and commercial feasibility work is that we'll really establish, can we make this work for school buses? So we're not driving all these, dirty diesel buses up and down the sort of residential areas and polluting it. So I think, I personally think there's something really, really positive and strong there. And I think, you look at Dennis Eagle up in Pantrybark Industrial Estate. I think they've done about 10 bus conversion, refuse vehicle conversions. So it's kind of doable. It's not that difficult when you talk to the people. But what we've got to do is try and catalyse the opportunity to bring some of it to the region. And that's what I hope we can do. So yeah, it'd be good to have a conversation